Welcome back. All right, so power rankings. I'm not using the puck board for this one. Puck board, I'll save for during the regular season. Absolutely, we'll use the puck board. I love using that. Right now, it's all taken apart. But once we get into the regular season, absolutely, it's back in here and it's good to go. The funny thing is, I leave this board together. I leave this board as it is. This is still the official power rankings board. The puck board's just the one for the camera. This is the one that I do update during the week on certain nights. You know, if it's 10, 11 games, I might be pouring over the board a little bit. But yeah, so let's get into this. And again, this is based on where we're at right now, not just where we ended the season, although that does have something to do with it. At number 32, the Arizona Coyotes. They dropped 2 spots from where they finished the season. The Coyotes are still doing their best to not necessarily get better, and I get it. If there's a team, an organization that needs Connor Bedard, it's the Arizona Coyotes. If they can win the draft lottery next year and they draft Connor Bedard, that could change that organization immediately. This is a team that absolutely could end up looking like they did this exactly the right way. Say 5 years from now, we might be talking about how they did it the right way. Number 31, also into tank mode, the Chicago Blackhawks. They dropped 2 spots from where they finished the season. Not a huge surprise there. The Chicago Blackhawks have kind of signaled that they wouldn't mind getting Connor Bedard themselves, which means that at number 30, moving up 1 spot from where they finished the season, the Montreal Canadiens. Drafting Slafkovsky, I think, is still going to end up being the smart move. I've already seen people writing him off as a bust, which is weird because we haven't seen a game yet. Like, until he plays a game, can we just hold off on all the bust talk and all that? He'll never play in the NHL. Okie dokie. I haven't seen a single report that said he wouldn't play in the NHL, but all right. So for Montreal, things are kind of in the same spot, but at least they're keeping Marty St. Louis, which I think is a good move. Number 29, moving up 3 spots from where they finished the season, Philadelphia. John Tortorella's behind the bench. This is a team that could move up quickly once we get into the season. Again, I don't mess with the power rankings once the season gets started. I don't do this magical readjustment of everybody. Because generally speaking, from season to season, there are many teams that finish outside the playoffs, again the following year. And your really good contender teams are usually still contenders afterwards. So for Philadelphia, I have them at 29th. Number 28, dropping 1 spot. I want to say from last week, but it wasn't last week. This is the first time I've done a power rankings on this set. The Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks, I think, are doing a good job of replenishing their ranks. Adding Klingberg's a good move, but I still look at the Ducks and say, yeah, they're still in this rebuild mode. There's some good players there. They're going to be competitive. They as well could end up shooting up to say this part of the board, or during parts of this past season they were up here, but they did end up back in the bottom row. So we'll see what happens. Number 27, switching spots with them, New Jersey. I like what New Jersey's done. I think New Jersey's got a decent chance of making some big strides this year. The one thing with the offseason, though, I can't assume that's going to happen. I can't assume and go, okay, well, New Jersey's going to be in the playoffs and bump them up into the top 16. I can make small moves here and there, but I don't feel comfortable doing that. So for the New Jersey Devils, they're at 27th on the board, but they may not stay there very long. Number 26, dropping 1 spot from where they finished the season, San Jose. San Jose Sharks. New GM, Mike Greer. New coach as well, and with David Quinn behind the bench, who knows? Again, you might see more wins from San Jose, but looking at the players on their roster, I don't see a huge difference with them yet. And again, the assumptions are kind of tough. That being said, there's one team that I assume, based on the injuries, is going to have a really hard time out of the gate. Dropping 14 spots from where they finished the season at 11 down to 25 is the Boston Bruins. They don't have Bergeron signed currently. They don't have Krejci signed either. McAvoy's going to miss a chunk of the season. Marchand's going to miss a chunk of the season. And it feels like all the important pieces for the Bruins just aren't going to be there or may not be there. And so I don't see a way that Boston starts the season well. Sure, they might rally when they get everybody back and maybe Bergeron and Krejci sign. Everything's fine. Maybe Zacha's the answer in the middle too. But yeah, Boston, I have tremendous concerns as a Bruins fan. That's why I'm wearing Boston. They're the big drop on the board. Normally I wear the one for the big riser, which in this case, might surprise people a little bit. This board is not going to match the one I did with the expectations, which did kind of turn into a bit of a predictions. Because where a team ends the season isn't necessarily where they are in the power rankings to start that season. Number 24, moving up 2 spots from where they finished the season, Seattle. I like what Seattle's doing. I think that Seattle's doing a gradual build. I think this is sustainable. Are they up near the cap? Yeah, but they don't really have anything to worry about. It's not like there's big names they have to worry about signing. And being up near the cap when your team's making good money, which Seattle is, I think that's fine. It sends the right message to the fans, too, of we are willing to spend money, we are going to spend money, and we're going to do our best to maximize our return on this lineup so that you guys get your money's worth when it comes to buying tickets. So I like what Seattle's doing. Number 23, dropping 1 spot from where they finished the season, is Buffalo, because there are a couple of teams that I was really impressed by what they did. That being said, how these teams finish the regular season is going to be fascinating. So at number 22, moving up 2 spots from where they finished the season, is Detroit. So there's Detroit at 22. I do expect them to be better this year. And at 21, also moving up 2 spots from where they finished the season, the Ottawa Senators. So there's Ottawa, Detroit, and Buffalo. And I fully expect one of these 3 teams to somehow end up here. We always have the unexpected. And a power rankings isn't necessarily about, what's going to be unexpected. Plus, if, again, let's just say if I put New Jersey up here and then they have a really rough start, well, there you go. So I always make it like it's incremental moves. And then once you're a couple weeks into the season, then I'm more likely to make those dramatic moves in my power rankings. Number 20, same spot where they ended the season, New York Islanders. The Islanders have been quiet. I don't know what else to say. The Islanders have been quiet. Lou Lamoriello, even by his standards, has been quiet in the offseason, waiting for something, anything. Has anybody checked on Lou lately? Is everything okay? Like, it's been so quiet from the New York Islanders. So maybe the fact that I'm saying this means by the time this goes live on the channel, it's going to be noisy with the Islanders, but I don't think so. Number 19, Winnipeg. Winnipeg going to Rick Bowness behind the bench. I'm hoping this works out because I like Bowness. I also like the Jets. I want to see the Jets succeed. That being said, there are still some parts of the lineup I think they're probably working on. I don't necessarily think this is the finished product. I don't think just keeping Dubois for 1 more year is going to make the fans all that happy, especially since Barry Trotz has decided he's going to walk the earth for a year. So, yeah, the Winnipeg Jets, hopefully not just waiting for Trotz next summer. Hopefully the idea of employing Rick Bowness is the idea of employing Rick Bowness. Number 18, Vegas. So Vegas, it's interesting. They lose Pacioretty. They lose Coghlan. I like Coghlan as a young defenseman. And Pacioretty, yeah, he misses time. But when he's in the lineup, he's very effective. He's a good goal scorer. And they're going to miss that. So there's a lot of... definitely could be some more pieces being moved. I could see Vegas still being in on... I would not be surprised if Vegas traded somebody out just so they could sign Kadri. This is the nature with Vegas. We'll see what they do. But at this point, I still have them at the same spot they were to end the season, which means this team moved up 4 spots. From signing Johnny Gaudreau, I think Columbus has signaled to their fans and to their locker room that they want to win now. So Columbus moves up 4 spots based on that move. I like that move. It cost them nothing. They picked up a player who had 115 points last year. So that's about as dramatic a move as I'm going to make based on a free agent signing, right? I mean, this move with Boston's dramatic because everybody's hurt, and I don't know when any of them are coming back, and it could be ugly. But for Columbus, they've added Gaudreau and lost nothing in the process. Well, they lose Bjorkstrand, of course. So this one might come back to bite me later, but I still think they're sending the message to the locker room, hey, we want to win. We're willing to do what we have to. Sadly, Bjorkstrand ends up going to Seattle, but he moved Seattle up a couple of points, so there's that. Number 6, and just saying, Columbus didn't lose anything. I know there's Blue Jacket fans that are stupid hockey guy. We lost Bjorkstrand. Okay, caught it. I'll delete that. Stupid hockey guy. I'll just post that. That's good. All right, number 16, moving up 1 spot. Just 1 spot because Boston drops. That's all this is. The next couple of guys move up a couple of spots because Boston dropped 14 spots. That's Vancouver. So Vancouver is in the top 16. Yay! I don't know what to expect from Vancouver. I keep hearing people saying, well, they'll just sell JT Miller at the deadline, and they might. But this is a team that was 32-15-10 with Bruce Boudreau behind the bench. If they can play anywhere near that level of hockey, they should be a playoff team. And I keep hearing people talk about how much the Pacific isn't very good. And then I put the Canucks in the playoffs in the expectation/prediction type video I did the other day. People got mad. They were like, how can you put the Canucks in the playoffs? Because they almost made the playoffs. And they just ran out of they ran out of runway. They were absolutely charging towards the playoffs. They were playing really, really well. And the most important thing with the Canucks, really solid defense once Boudreau took over. Teams that keep the puck out of their net, they tend to finish pretty high. Number 15, also moving up one spot, as I said, because Boston did their thing. The Nashville Predators. I like what Nashville's done in the offseason. I like that they went out and they got another backup goaltender. I'm glad they kept Forsberg as well. If they'd lost Forsberg, I think that would have really cost them. I don't know if they're going to end up being a better team this year than last year. They seem to be dropping down the standings since their winning of the President's Trophy, but we'll see whether or not they can hold off dropping out of the playoffs for another year. Hey, 16 out of 32 teams make the playoffs. There's no shame in missing the playoffs like there used to be. When 16 out of 21 made it, your team missed the playoffs. You weren't very good. Unless you're in the Patrick division. Number 14, dropping one spot from where they finished the season, Washington. So for Washington, there are some issues I find with the Washington lineup in general, which definitely kept them down in the second half of the season. Kemper should be better for them in net than what they were getting from Samsonov or Vanacek. Of course, Samsonov now in Toronto, Vanacek now with the Devils. But, yeah, I don't know if I see them as a contender. It's the same argument I was making last year, that I don't know if there's a team in the East Washington can beat. And I don't know if this Washington Capitals team necessarily made moves that make it more likely for them to win around this coming season. They can prove me wrong, absolutely. Ovechkin has proven people wrong before. Maybe he's got another run in him. Number 13, up 2 spots, because Washington drops and so does Boston. And that's Dallas. Now, for Dallas, this is precarious. They have to sign Robertson. They have to sign Ottinger. They cannot afford... I don't know if they can afford to sign both, and if they do, they're probably going to have to trade somebody out for some cap room. It might not be pretty how they get there, how they make everybody fit under the cap. And now I'm starting to see articles here and there on, for Dallas, I think they need more production from Sagan and Ben. Well, I'm glad the rest of NHL fans and media are starting to catch up with where Dallas fans have been for a long time. Yes, we know that Ben and Sagan, who eat up a lot of cap space, have not been producing worth that cap space that they're taking. So hopefully with Peter DeBoer behind the bench, things progress in the right direction and this team starts scoring goals in bunches. They can do it at times, but what's frustrating with Dallas, and it's been frustrating for years, they can have a month where they score goals at will, and then the next month they couldn't put the puck in the ocean. So that's been a problem for them. That's got to be rectified. Number 11, number 12, I should say, moving up 2 spots as well, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh kept the gang together. If they'd lost Malkin, odds are they're dropping, unless they'd signed Kadri with that money. And the funny thing is, I even found myself asking, when Malkin hadn't signed yet, would they be better off going with Kadri than keeping Malkin? And I wasn't sure of the answer to that because Malkin gets injured a lot. And he is 35 years of age. Kadri's 32. He's not a spring chicken himself. But, yeah, for Malkin, I have some questions. And for Pittsburgh as well. But that being said, they are usually a playoff team. They're almost always a playoff team. People have been writing about their likelihood of falling out of the playoffs for the last 3 years. I expect people to talk about it this year too. Doesn't generally happen. Number 11, moving up 1 spot from where they were. So, moving into the spot that Boston is LA. The LA Kings, 11th. So there you go. Boston drops to 25th, and it just moves a whole bunch of teams up, including the Kings up to 11th spot. I like what the Kings did in the offseason a lot. I like addition of Fiala. I think that's going to help. I do have some question mark with their goaltending, with Quick being older and Peterson coming off of what was a down year for him. They need Peterson to bounce back, and they need Quick to continue to play at that top level. And at some point, age catches up with everybody, right? Eventually it'll catch up with Joe Pavelski, and so we'll see how long that takes. Eventually it's going to catch up with Malkin, Letang, and Crosby as well. Number 10, dropping 4 spots from where they finished the season, Minnesota. Minnesota's got cap problems. We know they have cap problems. I really think it's hurt. Where the team is now compared to where they finished the season, I don't think they're in a better position to succeed. Now if Boldy can come in, if Rossi could potentially come in and play for him and give him some big minutes, if any of their other prospects could jump in, that'd be huge. They need guys on entry-level contracts. They need guys on cheap contracts to come in and perform well in order to cushion the blow of losing some of the players that Minnesota's lost and will continue to lose. Losing Fiala was big. Trading out Talbot potentially could be big as well. We'll see how Gustafsson does, right? It's Gustafsson now, right? So, and they're all in with Fleury as well. So I dropped them out of the top row. They could end up right back in there. Number 9, dropping 4 spots from where they were, Calgary. So I want to explain Calgary a bit. Now, when I talked about Calgary and I said I didn't necessarily see them as a contender, this is why. They lose Gaudreau, they lose Tkachuk. They gain Huberdeau, they gain Weegar. They're down 1 top 6 forward in Matthew Tkachuk. That's huge. If we assume that Huberdeau basically replaces Gaudreau in most areas, he's a bit of a different player than Gaudreau, but they still don't have anybody to replace that 100-plus points they were getting from Tkachuk this past season. So for that reason, I see Calgary as being a little bit down from where they finished the year, and so we'll see whether or not that is in fact the case. I think we'll learn early on in the year, and how they handle that big change at the top. Huberdeau coming into a new organization, we don't know how he's going to play. It's the same with Gaudreau in Columbus. These guys both could struggle out of the gate. We just don't know. So we get into the top row. Number 8, dropping 1 spot from where they finished the season, St. Louis. For St. Louis, I do like a lot of what St. Louis has done over the last couple of years. I think they're still going to be a team that's probably top 2 in their division. Maybe they end up 3rd, but I think they're still going to be in contention, and I don't see anything in their lineup to tell me that's not going to be the case. Apparently they were in on Matthew Tkachuk, could not make the deal work. And looking at what Florida gave up, it might be better for them that they didn't make that trade, because I don't think they have as much depth as Florida did to make a move that was that big. Number 7, dropping 4 spots from where they finished the season, is Toronto. So for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it really simply comes down to, I look at Jack Campbell, what he did this past season, and now I look at who's going to be in his place. Either Matt Murray, who had a really rough year in Ottawa, actually 2 rough years in Ottawa, and Ilya Samsonov, who had a pretty rough year in Washington and had lost his job at points to Vanacek. So, I mean, you can bet on one of them having a bounce back year, maybe both of them. But again, I don't feel like the goaltending to me just doesn't scream contender, right? Like, and again, that could absolutely be proven wrong. Yes, I am well aware that could be proven wrong, but just for me at this point, I want to see how these goaltenders perform in the regular season. Don't get too hyped up by the preseason, because that can be a false sense of hope. Sometimes preseason can be rough. Number 6, moving up 2 spots from where they ended the season, the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers run all the way to the Final Four was something to behold. The only series I got wrong was because the Rangers beat Carolina. So that's the only series. So that's on them. I was almost perfect. I finished 2nd in the bracket on the channel. But yeah, the Rangers at 6, I like what the Rangers have done. I've said for years that I've been a fan of what the Rangers have done. They're an exciting team to watch. They're a lot of fun to watch. And so, yeah, for the Rangers, 6th place absolutely works. We'll see how it goes this year. They did lose some players, but they also went out and got Vinny Trocheck. I think they'll be okay. I also think with Lafreniere, with Kakko, with other young players they've got in their lineup, I think they'll be fine. I really do. I think they'll be fine. Number 5, moving up 5 spots from where they finished the season. So into the top 5 is Edmonton. I like Jack Campbell. I do. I think Jack Campbell in their net is much better than Koskinen or Smith. Smith's rumored to be going on the LTIR, so we'll see who ends up being the battery mate for Campbell. If in fact it's Skinner, we'll see. But yeah, the Oilers are, I think, in pretty good shape to potentially win that division. They could very well win that division. They may very well be the sexy pick to win the division. A lot of it's going to depend on Evander Kane's continued good behavior. And I mean good behavior off the ice and just around his teammates, and being able to continue the production at the level he was for them this past season. So if he can continue to produce like that, they'll be fine. Number 4, also moving up 5 spots from where they finished the season, Carolina. The Hurricanes had a pretty strong finish, and by which I mean in the playoffs. Didn't get enough goals to knock out the New York Rangers, but I like their game in general. And again, I think they did a good job in the offseason. I think when you can add Brent Burns and you can add Max Pacioretty, you really haven't lost anything but cap space. I think that's pretty smart. So they got shut out in terms of the free agent market off the big guys, but then they went out and got a couple from teams that wanted to create some cap space in San Jose and Vegas. So Carolina, I think, did well. If Pacioretty can play in, I'd say 65-plus games, I'd say 30 goals are likely, possible at least. And I think they've done a good job. I think Brent Burns is going to be a good fill-in for D'Angelo. They have shown year after year they're really good at replacing guys that leave. So I'm not even all that worried about Trocheck going. I think they'll be fine. Number 3 on the board, moving up 1 spot from where they finished the season, is Tampa Bay. So the Tampa Bay Lightning move up to 3rd. Of course, they were in the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd straight year. First time that's happened in a very long time. The Tampa Bay Lightning still are going to be one of the best teams in the league. I don't foresee any huge drop-off from them. It's possible we see a bit of a drop-off. But remember, they haven't been first in their division the last 2 years, and they win the Stanley Cup. They're not really all that worried about the regular season numbers. Just make the playoffs and then go. Number 2, dropping 1 spot from where they finished the season, is Florida. The Florida Panthers might have the best roster in hockey, and they might have had the best roster for these playoffs that we finished up about a month ago too. However, were they playoff ready? Well, with Matthew Tkachuk, they might be. Right? Matthew Tkachuk might be exactly what the doctor ordered. They did lose Mason Marchment too, though, which I think was a boost for Dallas, and that might hurt Florida, but Florida always goes out and finds value guys. They always pick up guys that it just works. And their scouting department's very good, so I have very little doubt that Florida's going to be excellent for another year. Which leaves us at number 1, and it has to be Colorado. They just won the Stanley Cup, so Colorado kind of has to be first. That being said, if Kadri doesn't return to Colorado, if they can't find a way to make it work, I do wonder, does Comfer then just slide into that second-line center spot? Does Newhook get a chance to maybe show what he can do? I'm anxious to see Newhook this coming season. There's a video posting to the channel about young players as well this coming week. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with the Colorado Avalanche this season. But since they won the Stanley Cup, I cannot bump them out of first place. Even though they've lost Kadri. I can't, at least at this point, they've lost Kadri. I cannot, in good faith, drop them out of first place. I can't do it. So there you go. Power rankings. Everybody who wants to be angry, you can be. You can just get the little, I got the little angry face here. So, I can just put them next to Toronto. Toronto fans want to get angry. I can put it next to Boston if Boston fans want to be angry. But really, they should be angry at the injury bug, not as much at me. I mean, they're no McAvoy, no Marchand, don't have Bergeron. Like, this team is... anyways. And, of course, you could be mad because maybe Florida's still being in second, or why is Tampa in third, or how can you drop Minnesota and Calgary? They haven't played yet, and you just betrayed your own rules, and why did Buffalo drop, and Seattle doesn't belong out of the bottom row, and there's any number of arguments you can make. And I know them before the video even posted to the channel, because I know how it's going to work. I've done power rankings now for 4 years. It doesn't really surprise me. The one that surprises me when people are like, hey, I like these are good, thanks. Really? Huh. That's a different reaction. Didn't expect that. All right. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It means a lot. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for everything. I will talk to you again soon.